Hi, John Monroe here, and today I'm going to make a video about public consultation in public space in cities. I'm at the city hospital, as you can see, in Birmingham, England, and I'm going to ride my bike from the city hospital here to the city center, downtown, and back again. There's a public consultation going on in Birmingham right now around how to configure the space between these two locations, the city center and the city hospital. And as you can see from all of this construction across the street, it's a very good time to be doing so, because a lot more people are about to move into this neighborhood, and that's probably going to mean a lot more cars, and so a lot more reason to think through how the space, you can see the telecom tower down there, that's kind of where the city center is. A lot more reason to think about how the space is going to be configured. So I'll just wait for a moment to join the traffic. It's also World Day of Remembrance for victims of traffic violence today, which is another important day to be thinking about these kinds of issues. Okay, this looks like a kind of informal bike lane. I'll use it. So, goodness knows how much parking they're making us to go along with all of this new accommodation here. So I was thinking about this issue of public consultation for a number of reasons. One, just simply because there's a consultation going on again, and the Birmingham City Council has one out, which is great, for people to have some input on how they would like to see these roads, sort of how they like to see the public space of these roads divided between different constituencies, people with cars, people who ride bicycles, people who are walking. And so I saw some social media conversation about this, and Martin Price, I think it was, who posted something about the idea of doing our own consultations. The formal consultations, online forums and so on, have their uses, but this idea of democratic consultation outside of that is quite interesting. And that can mean sort of more technical. There's people like Mark Hipwell who can just put together these so impressive sort of graphic designs of what streets can look like. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. So I'm just adding an experiential, I just know how to ride a bike. So I'm gonna add an experiential contribution to the conversation here in terms of what it feels like to ride a bike. See how fast that car was going? Oh my goodness. And to see where the bike lane should go and compare where it should go, in my view, people could disagree, where it should go with where it presently is. Okay, so this is kind of the core of the ride already right here, this roundabout. And actually I'll pause for a second. A couple things to note about it. One is that tall building over there, I'll just point out that tower block for rock and roll fans is a music landmark. It appears on the back cover of the rock album Led Zeppelin 4, something I learned when I moved here. Okay, here I go. So this roundabout it's a Sunday morning right now, so it's not too busy, which is why I'm doing this now. It's an extremely dangerous roundabout. And there's a few things to say about it. So it connects these very wide roads, which are ideal for bike lanes, lots of space. Look at it all. This is public space that right now is just reserved for drivers, many of whom, again, you know, take the opportunity on roads like this to drive extremely fast, and they're kind of designed with that in mind. So a roundabout like the one that we just, and therefore again leading to traffic incidents of violence against pedestrians and cyclists. So clearly, this is the route I think should have the bike lane, because there's so much space for it to go in. So roundabouts like the one I just passed are also, you know, we can think of them as these kind of technical matters of infrastructure, but they're also an announcement of an ideology that says who is important enough to have resources allocated towards their you know, ability to move safely through the city. And that roundabout is a very clear announcement that people who own cars, what matters is they're being able to move quickly and conveniently, as fast as they like, as fast as they can go through the city. Whereas people who live in the neighborhood there, many of whom do not have cars, then have to navigate that roundabout, and it's very, very dangerous. And again, as World Day of Remembrance reminds us, people are injured and killed as a result. And of course, in Birmingham, pedestrians and cyclists are injured and killed by fast-moving cars all the time. Okay, so I'm almost there. This is a very short ride, which also tells us something. Cyclists are not really welcome in a road like this. It's really dangerous. And yet it's by far the most direct way to get to the city center. And here I've already arrived. So at this light here, I'm not going to go right into the center, but just down there, I don't know if you can see it with the camera, but the Christmas festival is happening. The library is just a little behind me here, so we're right in the city center here. I'll keep going. Now I'll go back. So it just took a few minutes to get here on these very wide roads that have all the space for bicycles to be able to move safely. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back on the route where the bicycle route actually is. This is also a different announcement of the same ideology. So this is where people on bicycles should go. So the key takeaways are, it's a longer route. Turn left here. It's a longer route, and it's just not nearly as convenient. And it also doesn't have, it's also a place where they're putting in bicycle infrastructure that doesn't have anywhere near as much space as that massive sort of middleway freeway that I just came through on. So this is, it's hard to tell, but this is actually the bike route. So if I'm riding with my kids, we like to go to the jewelry quarter and visit the shops there, and you know, this is one of the ways that we would go. And the provision for them is there are some bicycle there's some bicycles, so you can see the bike box here. I guess I could move into it, light's changing anyways. You'll see in a moment that what we have is some bicycles painted on the ground. That's just, I mean, it's almost like they're just having a laugh at you with those. What do those possibly even do to protect anybody? Okay, so here comes the bike route, and I'm not with my kids right now, but we do come this way sometimes if we're going from the city center to the jewelry quarter. Usually I would just, you know, my kids would just have to go on the pavement, on the sidewalk, just to try to keep safe. But if this is supposed to be the bike route, in a moment when the city is really, you know, doing the good work of rethinking the public space, and having this consultation, that's great. We do need to think, and it's nice to have public input on what the city should look like. But this, the way that it's actually happening is less than ideal, and seems like more of the same in many ways. Nice that this lane is here, but it's pretty inadequate. And the fact that you have to take a very dangerous section to get to it negates what's good about having it in the first place. And then of course there's just parking spaces as well, as we see here. I guarantee that car will not be towed away. It'll sit there until its owner decides to drive it on. Which is another reason why having the cycle infrastructure on the main road that I came down would be much better, because it's in a more prominent location and it just makes it more not sure what that driver was doing. It makes it more glaring when drivers leave their cars in the bike lane, as they do. And again, given that they're not towed, in some ways, who can blame them? Yeah, it's just another problem, and another reason to put the bike lane somewhere prominent, somewhere direct, somewhere convenient. So if it's the case then that this bike route is less ideal, it's more of a roundabout route, it's not that well designed, there's these kind of big speed bumps you have to go around, which they make sense to let pedestrians get onto the bus, but they're kind of these jarring bumps. And it's just funny because obviously car infrastructure would never have anything like that. So again, it's a technical matter. It's good to slow the cyclists down. We need to slow right down if there's someone at the bus stop. But it's done in a way that would not ever be the case for car drivers. And again, that's just an ideology at work. Who is the public space for? Who is the city for, essentially? And thinking back to that Led Zeppelin tower, Salisbury Tower, I think it's called. The people who live there, they live right across the street from the large Tesco grocery store, and they have to cross that very, very busy road to go and get their groceries. And some bike lanes there would also help by giving the cars a little less room, then I'll slow the motorists down a little and maybe make that crossing a little bit better for all the pedestrians who live in the neighborhood as well. Quite a nice morning, actually. So this all connects to the not very good maintenance here. This connects to the remembrance issue as well. There was just a 3-year-old girl, my God, killed crossing in the crosswalk with her parents, or with family members at least. We had some of you may have seen, we had a recent forum, which was I thought was really nice to be at, really constructive for me, on the issue of car culture in Birmingham. And then just 2 days later, a child was killed in a crosswalk. And we're so lucky to have local representatives like Liz Clements who speak on this issue. But it's just remarkable how few local representatives have much to say about this, considering what an epidemic it is. And you'll see, again, with the World Day of Remembrance today, a lot of there's so many names and photos of people who were killed, in many cases just because bad driving, but also very much decisions made around infrastructure that encourage that bad driving. So I need the exercise, so I'm not too unhappy about the fact that this route has more hills than the one that I took inward bound. But it's also could be a little bit of a disincentive as well, given that we want cycling infrastructure to be for everyone, every ability, every age, every comfort level. And this route that I'm taking on the way back is just doesn't do that. And it's so glaring when the direct route has so much space just ready. So then if the direct route has all this space and there's all the reasons to do it, and this route by any experiential measure is simply not as good, then the answer to the question of why it's happening here and why the route is not happening where it really seems like it ought to be is a political one. So it's about the political sway, and maybe even the imagined political sway of car owners. So I'm coming back to just about where I started here. This is back onto this is a strange part because the bike path lets you out here, and then I guess you just walk up to the light. I think they're gonna make a bit of a bike path on this section of the road, but let me look back again. So if you look back to where I came, or where I went, just down there, again, here's the direct route. It's very wide. There's a lot of room here for a bike lane on either side. There's no need for parking on this busy road. It also, again, is a moment before all these additional, ever increasing number of cars, ever increasing size of the cars, before this whole new influx comes with this building. Here's the opportunity. And I think the city council has that in mind, which is great. But to make the route direct down this busy road, that seems like the key, and clearly the way to go. And again, it would say something. It would say something about who has access, who has the right to convenience, not necessarily just people with cars, but everyone. And then finally, back to that roundabout again that I passed earlier. That seems like, you know, just such a perfect candidate for the first Cyclops roundabout in Birmingham. I mean, there are many candidates for this. We need so many of them. But if they put a Cyclops roundabout in there, it would slow the traffic, it would reduce traffic violence, it would make it much more pleasant, and it would enable, then it could connect up with bike lanes that ran up here to the city hospital and enabled people to go safely and in a more pleasant fashion. Manchester really seems to be leading the way on this with so many, I mean, I'll need to go and check it out for myself, but it just seems like they have so much going on there in terms of new infrastructure for cyclists and pedestrians, and also a kind of political will to actually, you know, to announce an ideology that says, well, the roads are public space, and then they're therefore not only for people who own cars. It's a really big issue in Birmingham, and we have a lot to do to face it. So I had one other idea about that big roundabout back there, just because of the building that's on the back of Led Zeppelin 4. Because Robert Plant, I read somewhere, used to ride a bike around here, and I thought, wow, well, imagine if Led Zeppelin kicked in some money and I don't know, name the roundabout after them or something, and make some kind of a cycle-friendly sort of thing. Just kind of a fun idea. But I don't know too much about Led Zeppelin, but it turns, well, like many people my age, I certainly listened to them when I was younger. But I was sad to see that it looks like Led Zeppelin actually just sold the rights to some of their music for a Hummer commercial, the new electric Hummer. So I guess maybe Robert Plant is not a comrade in this issue. Anyways, that's quite the aside. Okay, so I've walked back up this way because it was the easiest and safest way to go, and that's fair enough because they've got some construction going on here. So back at the City Hospital sign, and I'll just get my helmet off and say that there's a little contribution to the discourse on the consultation, public consultation, and I hope that the City Council really considers doing the direct route for cyclists, and to make a Cyclops junction at that roundabout down there, in order to announce a different kind of ideology than the one that is so dominant when we think about transport issues in our city, and especially again today as we're thinking about the many victims of traffic violence in Birmingham and around the world. Okay, thanks everybody. See you later.